Today we're joined by Mirco Pecorari, the creative force behind AircraftStudioDesign, whose obsession with flight began at age 7 in his father's basement workshop, surrounded by model planes and machinery. His designs have transformed aviation aesthetics across every scale, from Kevin Kimball's legendary Pitts Python and John Sharp's record-breaking Nemesis to the revolutionary Extra NG. His work spans the most iconic aircraft of our time. In the RC world, he's shaped everything from popular models like the PilotRC Matrix to designing Spectrum's transmitter lineup, bringing his distinctive vision to both the aircraft and the tools we use to fly them. In this episode, Mirco opens his vault of 7,000 aircraft designs, many never seen before. He will share secrets from decades of innovation. We'll explore his journey from aviation enthusiast to industry pioneer, his collaborations with aerobatic legends, and get a preview of his upcoming book of concept designs. Hey Mirco, how are you doing?
Hey Juan, how are you? I'm very good.
Good. Thank you so much for taking the time. Pretty
Uh,
excited about
thank,
this chat.
thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's been a while since we started talking, and I'm glad we finally made it happen.
Yeah, I know a lot of things to do, and yeah, finally we are here. We are. So
Yeah, so I have a lot of things that I want to cover, but I think it would be good to maybe get started with a quick intro about yourself. Like, can you talk about who you are, what have you been up to? Yeah, so people get an idea of your career.
I am an aviation geek, basically. You know, it's I'm 58. I'm from Modena, a city in Italy, famous for having the Ferrari, Maserati, Lamborghini, and all these sport car things. And in this land of the cars, I decided to start a career of designing aircraft. So I start to design plane since I remember. I think I was a 7, something like that, and I collected all the draw that I did in my career. I'm RC builder and pilot. I love radio control. Even if I'm not good like the recent 3D guys, they do crazy stuff, and I'm also a pilot. I have the PPL license, so I love aviation. Aviation is my passion, and it's an obsession. It's not a passion, It's so when I have a free time, I sketch planes and planes that doesn't exist because it should be exist in my mind and nobody did it before. So it's kind of like a personal university of design. And I started my company after the school. I studied in the Ferrari school in the 1979, and after the military service, because here in Italy was compulsory, back in the time, and I opened my own studio to design, do things with technology and CAD and all these things back in the 1991. And then I started to, meanwhile in the evening, still sketching planes and, building models and go fly and stuff like that. But later on, I decided to switch and offer design in aviation, for aviation. And I had a big boom during the 25 years ago in United States, in Sun Fan, Oshkosh, all this place, big connection with the Kevin Kimball of Gene Kimball Enterprise, the builder of the Pitts Model 12. Spend a lot of time with this gang at San Fan and Oshkosh all the years, and from there, I met a lot of people. John Sharp of the Nemesis, Jacob Hollander of the Scandinavian Air Show, Jim Leroy, and so on. All the performers, Gary Ward, and also in aviation, in a radio control model. I met a lot of people from Multiplex, Horizon Hobby, and of course, RC Pilot. I saw your interview with Tony, very, very, very funny. very fun. And so this is it. And I started to design not only paint scheme but also planes in terms of style. Not I'm not an aeronautical engineer. In collaboration with the company that they have, the engineering and aerodynamic department, of course, doing all these things with them. So yeah, and here we are. I designed also not only aircraft but industrial design, like stereo system with Formula One exhaust, something like that. A very crazy, unusual design. Let's put it this way. Plus cars, boats, stuff like that. So yeah, here we are.
Yeah, and I think for those people listening, Mirko has basically had his hands on many of the designs, both from the scheme perspective to the actual shape of many of the planes that you are familiar with, whether it's from full scale to RC.
Yeah.
Mirko probably has been involved in many of those. Yeah, it's really cool. I'm kind of curious to hear a bit more about how. I imagine that you grew up in Modena. There's a lot of kind of design culture over there. I'm sure you're not the only one doing these kind of things, and I'm sure that it's not easy to go from making some kind of design, whether it's for cars, airplanes, color schemes, whatever, um, for a hobby versus actually making a career out of it. Right? Like, was that a pretty challenging transition, or it just happened pretty naturally?
Um, it's kind of interesting because here we have a social tissue, let's put it this way, of a lot of artisan, they are very able to do super cool stuff in a low number because, for example, Ferrari doesn't sell, million of car like
Yeah.
I don't know Fiat, Mercedes, or Ford. So basically, you have a local artisan very able with to do a piece of art, carbon fiber, metal. And basically, Modena is a small city, and basically, everybody. So it's easy if you have an idea, it's easy to find somebody that can just do a frame in tube or in wood or in whatever, carbon fiber. So you have a normal access to all these skills and small entrepreneur, and it's quite normal to if you have an idea to know how to make it, make it happen. So I think I was very lucky to grow in this environment. My father, he was also a modeler, and he loves to build in the basement, even if a small basement with the, all the machinery and basic machinery with a lot of stuff, miniature things, planes, little motors, boats, and stuff. So it's kind of natural for me say, okay, I would love to do this, and know how to make it, So yeah, it's a very practical school, but yeah, and I love technology. This was a huge benefit for me because I started to use AutoCAD in the AutoCAD 2.1, it's kind of like back in the time. And I was one of the first to draw in 3D, 2D and half because AutoCAD back in the time he had only extrusion of parts. So, and then when the first 3D Studio, and then all the other software like we are using Modo, which is a pretty revolutionary software. The father of Blender, for example, the first one to use the subdivision, sub-D modeling, and so on. So having this big passion also for video games and computer, you have from one side a little guy you able to do things in balsa wood, metal, and stuff, and the other side, a very geek about technology, computer science, and everything. So yeah, it was a very lucky blending things, So.
Cool. Yeah, I mean it's incredible looking back. The number of very iconic color schemes, very iconic airplane models, both
Yeah.
in full scale and in RC that you've been involved in. Like I didn't know. I knew about you a while ago. I didn't know that you had your hands on so many of them though. That's pretty crazy.
This this was my fault because very busy doing things and not so good in advertising. But the good news is this year you will see a big boom in the next years because um, we have a good marketing plan in order to present new website. We are doing a magazine, we will sell, not sell, we will send this magazine to our customer and friends. I have a contract. I just signed a contract for a book. So in the future, we will have a book, a collection of books about what we did in the past. So I'm trying to catch up.
Well, I know that the number of designs that you've worked on is like way too many to cover here. But I would love to like talk a bit about some of the more, at least the ones in my head are like the more iconic ones, the more well known. So I think the first one that comes to mind, you mentioned before, you worked with Kevin Kimball, right? Can you talk about the work you did with him?
Oh yeah. First of all, we become friends in like 3 to 1. I met him online, asking a question on a forum about the registration number of the very first pitch special. And is a true engineer. Is just is super. It's a super talented guy, and so we started to do special plane together, including the Pitts Python, the Pitts Model 12 named Python was the first one, and then the Bulldog second with Jim Leroy, and then a lot of other Pitts Model 12. So basically, we set up a booth together in at Sun and Fun in Florida every year, Lakeland, and we create a huge community of super funny people, and we had a lot of fun in doing stuff. So it's kind of like I don't know if I don't think this is a job, it's a pure fun because and I had this opportunity also to meet a lot of customers. So we did the Beast, we did, and also with John Sharp, as I mentioned, with the Nemesis. We did the original one, we did the Relentless, we did the one that Rolls Royce used for this spirit of innovation, electric recoil, and so on. So, and with Kevin, always find a way to say, hey, what about this plane? What about this and what about that? And then I started to just sketch new stuff, propose. For example, we had also the idea to do the GBR3 in full scale. We are ready to do it. If somebody, by the way, the GBR3, it's a kind of like a very funny story. Because I did one of these sketches from a friend of mine here in Italy, which the name is Gianni Biagini, GB, and he bought a Wankel engine from OS, And I said that you cannot put this exotic engine on a normal plane. So I came out with the GB release 3, not the R2, but the R3 as a fantasy plane. And I did a couple of sketches. And then we started to develop the plane and so on. And then I published it as the nickname MacPecos, which was the very first website. And after 1 year, think about it. We are talking about with no social media, only forum, only chat. So with the
Yeah, a while ago.
dial-up line, yeah, whatever ago. So somebody say, "Hey, this is not your design. Look, this company." They found this in the basement of the Granville Brothers, because, by the way, GB means Granville Brothers. So I said, "What the hell?" And basically, this company in Germany they found one of this sketch on my website, and they just do the plane in full, not in full scale, but in scale, radio control. I
Hmm.
don't know the scale itself. But the funny story, they copy also the scheme with my birthday date on it, like 30 December 66. And I became famous because Kevin intervened in the chat of the blog and say, no, this is not true. I mean, and he did the replica of the GBZ, with a friend in Florida. So, and also I know Kermit Weeks, which is the owner of the Fantasy of Flight, one of the biggest collection in the world of aircraft, and he owned the GBR2, the GBZ, all the. So of course they say, guys, you are crazy. This is a Mirco design. So anyway, I became famous about this story. So I don't know what to say. Sometimes, I shut down immediately the website because I was afraid that, somebody else, take the advantage. But another news is we will come out with a lot of new stuff, also a new website with the backpackers with all the sketch in order to promote the book and to show to the community what we can do in terms of the design. So Kevin was a key point, to introduce me also in the United States. When you go to Oshkosh, he is like the John Hall, for full scale
Yep.
aviation, because there are 11,000 aircraft and 1 million
Everything
of
aviation
people.
related is there.
Everything from the parachute to the space shuttle, So, and it's just, yeah. And by the way, you must go there. I mean, not only you, but all
Everybody
the,
said,
yeah,
yeah.
everybody.
Every
This is
aviation enthusiast, yeah.
absolutely. This is a must. It's something that you have to do at least one time in your life. So
The other project or set of projects that I think are also pretty interesting is your work with Extra, right? With the Extra
yeah.
company. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was of course super cool. When I remember when I approached them in Friedrichshafen, in one of these. It's a European city where they do the every year this aero and an expo about aviation. So I started to develop for them the standard paint scheme. So basically, when you go to order a plane, you can select from the available paint scheme. And of course, this was very important and very interesting for me because I had the opportunity also to not only do custom scheme, but to learn how to do the scheme for the production. You cannot stop the production, because somebody wants a dragon or a superhero face on the plane. You needed to produce. So it was very interesting. And then Walter in person asked me, "Are you interested in doing the style of the new generation?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So we started to do sketch about the new generation and the NG extra NG
Hmm.
came out from and of course they gave me restriction like position of the wing profile and everything, of course, and I did the interior exterior, and it was a super interesting project, of course, also for me to interact with the best, one of the best company in the world, if not the best. I don't want it to piss off other people, but for sure one of the most iconic company all around the world about aerobatic aircraft. And from yeah, and then we presented at Oshkosh, by the way. So closing the loop, we unveiled me and Walter the NG in front of a big crowd at the International Aerobatic Club at Oshkosh. And it was a big blast, because of course it's like somebody, do love to design cars, like Ferrari say, "Hey, are you interested in do the new generation of cars for us?" Of course, it was a big blast. So yeah, thanks to them, now we are working also in the new models, new paint scheme. Every couple of years we do the standard paint scheme. We did also the color configurator because meanwhile I had a lot of idea and very lucky because my son, my daughter, working with me. So this is a family business basically. This one, including my wife, and so my son started to do programming. So now we can do everything in house, including color configurator, virtual reality environment, where to present it to our customer through the virtual reality goggle the new product. You can jump in, you can fly it. So anyway, we do also this for extra, and yeah, all the graphics, the name and the logo and everything. So yeah, it was a big blast for me to start to work with them back in the time. I think it's more than 20 years right now we work together, so it's a strong relationship.
Nice. Yeah, that extra NG is still one of my favorite airframes. Like the full scale is like beautiful. Both the shape and the scheme is like a really really nice
Yeah, thank you very much.
combination.
Yeah.
And I think you've also been involved in the SX, right? I saw some
Yeah,
like really cool
in
cool
this
schemes too.
case, we did the paint scheme, not the aircraft design, because they came out with the idea to make a version of the SC a little bit shorter in order to be more agile in the sky and everything. And now we are involved in a super cool paint scheme for this plane. So because people want something super crazy, so you will see in a few months or a few days a flaming dragon, and crazy, super crazy scheme. So yeah,
Yeah, I've seen the
it's
one that you have. Is that the one you have in the website? I think on the
no,
very
no,
top of
it's
your
another
website.
one. Well, I
Another
don't
one.
know. Actually, we did so far like five or six different dragon, because dragon is a very popular animal at this point, or fantasy animal. So let
Yeah,
me.
no, the one I see on the website is really really cool. Um, yeah, so maybe we can transition now to RC. Can you talk a bit about the type of projects you've done in RC, both on the kind of airplane side, which is probably the most well known, but also you have worked even on transmitters with a Spectrum, right?
Yes, as you know, Spectrum is a brand of Horizon Hobby. So Kevin again introduced me to Horizon Hobby because they approached him for the Beast and the Pitch Model 12 and the Viking, if I remember well. So we started to do paint scheme for radio controlled planes, and then in my office we also have the capability of doing surface modeling and mechanical engineering. So at the end of the day, they asked me also if I was available for designing transmitter in terms of the style, ergonomics, and so on. So the gimbal itself, sometime, So yeah, we start this very nice collaboration with Horizon Hobby, doing paint scheme, transmitter, and also aircraft. Because if you remember the Commander, I did it with the David Payne, the Commander, which is a kind of like mix between an extra, a Ryan STA, and a Spitfire with this nice wing and so on. And then we did also a couple of drone, quadcopters. But yeah, basically we design all the case. I mean, it's like, again, like 10, 12 years back, even more, of all the transmitter. Let's say the 90% of the transmitter that you have right now on the Spectrum lineup is designed by us. We still work. We're still working with them. A big surprise is coming. I cannot talk about it, of course, but yeah, we are involved also in this kind of project. Yeah, and it's very interesting because also finding these things that you are involved in the design, it's very exciting. So
I'm kind of curious when you are working on a design, kind of on the physical design of a transmitter. I'm kind of curious about what are the main things that you are having to work through. What are the main kind of constraints that they come with for you to keep in mind, and then what are the main kind of challenges? I'm guessing that ergonomics and how to like reach the switches, but they still not switch them unintentionally. Like I'm kind of curious what the typical process looks like with the
Of
transmitters.
course, all the brands they already have aficionados, customer that they love how the radio is done. So basically, they gave me a disposition of the switch, and they gave me okay, we want number of the switch, all the option, position of the antenna because it's reflect also the performance in the communication. Display, sometimes you have a touch display, sometimes you have with the roller and stuff. So this is the basic requirement. And then it's also important to be a trend setter in terms of look. So you are in between trying to do a family feeling, try to keep the look of the spectrum transmitter. And at the other side, you want to be a little bit brave and to push the limit. For example, we did this NX7 white. Everybody say, "Oh, but this is a white
Yep.
radio," and then other people start to do the red and white, and a radio in a carbon with a carbon fiber shell and with the gimbal in metal, all this kind of stuff. And of course, in terms of ergonomics, you have to understand how the people fly because you fly sometime with the tray, sometime you fly with your thumb. You sometimes people flying this way, sometimes they fly upside down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit tricky to find the best for everybody. It's like when Apple do this headset. It's difficult to do a pair that fits all the human beings. So normally we do a very first shape, and then they print it, they test it, they gave me a feedback like, yeah, this is cool, this is, we want to change this, what about this? So after after some time, after 5 or 6 loops, you came out with the perfect shape, and then you started to accommodate everything inside, and then you need also to face all the problem in the production, production design, the production cost, so create only one shell, 2 shells, 3 pieces, 5 pieces, and so on. So yeah, again, this is a very interesting process, and you learn to do this the first time, the second time it's easier, and so on. So now we are expert, and when they approach us, it's a kind of like we want a brand new radio or a radio based on a case with or on previous ergonomics and so on. And sometimes the product are cool, sometimes are well accepted, sometimes are not so well accepted. So you also collect all this feedback from the market in order to understand what to do for the next one.
The other brand I know you've worked with quite a bit recently, especially, has been PilotRC. You talked about Tony before. I'd love to hear a bit about the work you've done there. Like the one that I think most people are aware of is the Matrix, right? That has been very successful, very popular lately. But yeah, can you talk a bit about your work with Pilot?
Yeah, Tony is it's a great guy. He came to visit us from China a few months ago. I don't remember when, but back in the time he approached me for the rights to produce the NG. So we managed this first project together, and then the company hired us to do a several paint scheme for other aircraft. I have to say I was very pleased about this because normally company, they just copy the scheme of the full scale plane, and they don't ask you the permission, you know. This is a very borderline situation, you know. So sometimes you say, okay, but if you do the model for yourself, no big problem. But if you make money out of the design that we developed for another guy, I think not only I think it's legal, it's a legal thing to matter to ask the permission to have the official license, you know, to produce this one. So he contacted me and he say, yeah, and finally we are in contact. So we start to do paint scheme, and then he asked me to do. And then I offer him and say, hey, I can do also shapes. You know, I did 7,000 sketch in my life of planes. So I show him my big book of sketch, and he basically he flipped out. You know, he said, "Oh my God, I want this and this and this." So he gave me the basic constraint design for the wings and everything, because of course you say, okay, I have this platform, it works well. I have this airframe, so position of the wing and CG stuff and so on, and please make a beautiful line. So yeah, I start to model the plane in 3D, and we came out with this futuristic kind of like futuristic but classic design, because the plane, I mean, it's, you know, you can find a lot of other sport jet with this, you know, like Hawk or Bandit or whatever, you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe the
Futura.
Futura. Yeah.
So I said, okay, I needed to do something that doesn't exist and different from the others. So I did this air intake in this particular way, especially the canopy, and then of course you have to deal also. Do you want a transparent canopy with interiors or fake interiors, or fake? I mean, just, you know, the interior copy,
Yeah.
or, you know, painted. And then you have to deal about the cost of the production and everything. So we came out with this good balance, and of course also the color scheme played a big role, because they told me, hey, we can do fading colors. You know, I'm not a super big fan of fading color, because it's very difficult to make a beautiful transition, especially if you spray, you know, if you paint yourself. It's always difficult, especially all around the fuselage. But they managed to do it in a great way. So you have this all this selection of color from blue to white, red to blue, and so on. And you know, and yeah, and then they tested the plane, they modify until the plane flies well, and finally, at the end of the day, on the market was a brand new, fresh design, you know, from zero, you know, a fantasy plane. To be honest with you, I'm very happy, because, of course, RC model pilot are separated in two. Who want a replica of a plane, and now you can see stuff like with all the weathering, all the detail is just, it's just amazing. I mean, they reach a level of details incredible now. Or somebody that just want to have fun and have some cool design, you know, in the air. So they are looking for the second half of they are looking for, you know, crazy lines and so on. So yeah, and actually we are in between, because sometime I do fantasy plane but become reality like extra G, and then we
Hmm.
and then we do the model. So yeah,
Yeah, the Matrix. It's a pretty great plan. I think it's been a really nice balance between good aesthetics for this, like, you know, if you're looking for like this kind of modern sports jet style, right? And it also happens to be like a really good design in terms of flying characteristics. I think it's worked pretty
yeah.
well. Um,
So
so
yeah,
so yeah, pretty good there.
yeah. I just
Um,
wanted to add one thing. Having the opportunity to explore such a crazy idea look like Bart Rutan. You know, he is an icon, in the aviation industry, because he just design unconventional plane, not starting from an existing layout. Basically, he think about the mission and he designed the plane for this mission. So I was from since I was young, for me he was a hero, like Kelly Johnson, and even Kelly Johnson, think about the Blackbird or the Starfighter, I mean, these guys are very, super genius, So I want to do the same thing, So when I design something, my mind, there is something very crazy, not the classic, wing platform and so on. So, of course, in radio control model business, you can push a little bit more because you don't need to face the certification and of EASA or FAA in the full scale plane. That they just constrain you to do things, in a certain, which is understandable. I mean, it's obvious. But in the radio control model realm, you can just push the limit. Then you needed to see if the market will accept these crazy shapes. Sometime yes, sometime no. So yeah, it's very fascinating to see how the two different full scale and the radio control model business accept different things. For sure, it's a funny thing, because in the radio control model you try to make with all the weathering, dirt plane and everything. In the full scale, you try to make it, shining, clean,
Clean
clean
as
as
possible.
possible.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
just, it was very fun.
Yeah, I imagine that for you and for kind of designer companies, I think both full scale and RC is probably like pretty interesting in their own ways, right? Like the full scale must be very satisfying, be part of that like big process, and it's a long project, right? I assume that from conception to actually seeing the plane in the air, it's a very
Yeah.
long time with a lot of iterations. But at the same time, in RC, you have this extra freedom that you were talking about, like being able to iterate a bit faster, less constraints. You don't have a human there. You don't have as much of that safety factor. You still have constraints, obviously, but you can iterate, you can fail and try again. A week later, you haven't spent millions and millions of dollars, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
It's
absolutely. And another cool point is in the radio control business, you had a huge opportunity to innovate. Think about all the drones. And now you see this technology is, and all this, new idea, new airframe and new control and everything, flight controls, software and everything. Now they are they are just moving in the full scale plane, because how many new plane with like a drone, flying drone and so on, we have now. Look at this brand new flying taxi and so on, and all came from RC model industry, basically. So it's kind of like when you leave the people free to invent, you really can innovate, definitely. When you constrain people due because the safety, which is, I mean, I'm not saying this is wrong, of course, but
it's
yeah,
required, yeah.
but sometimes they exaggerate too much. And when you ask an engineer just to design a new plane, basically you have to be constrained about the rules, and the plane look exactly the same, or
All
yeah.
the same,
So,
yeah.
but and it's very interesting to see from the radio control business. Then they just transfer all these things in full scale, even with again this flying electric planes, taxi, and so on, multi rotor things. It's, yeah, it's very fascinating, and I'm super happy about it, by the way.
Um, as an RC pilot, one thing that I've been seeing more more and more recently is many different manufacturers. They of course will offer their 2, 3, 4 kind of personally designed schemes. But one thing that has been has been more common lately is letting the customer potentially ask them to kind of build a plane with a custom scheme. And sometimes there's a collaboration between the customer and the company. Other times the customer just does the drawing however they can and they send it and they make it. So I would love to get a bit more into maybe learn a bit more about your process when you are designing a new scheme, and then after that maybe we can talk a bit about how somebody without without the experience you have, without the tools you have, without the team you have, how can they try to maybe improve a little bit the way they do things so that next time they buy a plane they want to do something custom. That they have a better chance to making something that looks cool.
The process.
So yeah, maybe start with how you approach like
the process, of course, depending on the requirement, because we work with a wide range of customers, starting from a private pilot, to a military, aerobatic teams, for example, or a company that they wanted to sell the same scheme several times. And so, of course, the initial input are completely different. Let's say you have an aerobatic team, for a nation. Again, another surprise this year, I cannot talk right now, but we did the paint scheme for one big player in the world about the aerobatic team. So one of the biggest aerobatic team with the new plane will have our paint scheme, and we just finished it, by the way, to create all the let's say the software to apply the scheme on the plane. So, for example, for an aerobatic team or on a country, you have to represent the flag in the sky of this country, and this is the input. Another input from, let's say, standard paint scheme for a plane, you have to find kind of like follow the heritage of the company. So, for example, I sometimes I say it's very wrong to see a green Ferrari, because green is more related to Lamborghini, for example, or a red Lamborghini. If you see a red Lamborghini, it looks like a Ferrari. So, of course, now it's a full color, so it's a solid color. But just to give an example. So, for example, for Extra, we study the story of Extra, and we developed with some parts. So this is another input, that drives you to the right concept. When and if, for example, if you ask me, hey, can you do a scheme for my plane? The very first thing that I ask you is, okay, what you do for living? Why you want this plane? This is something that you wanted to name after your kids, or if you have a lucky number, or a pair of shoes that you love, or whatever, or the logo of your company. There are infinite number of input, and this is where we are very good. We kind of like understand the customer. This involves also sometime a lot of time we go to meet the customer in person, and say, okay, and see where he lives and so on, and then we developed this scheme, not a cool paint scheme, but your personal scheme. And the people are super happy, because it's not something that they already saw on in air or in the market, So this process involves a very tight connection with the customer, and then we started to draw something, and we present first of all, we use only 3D, so you can rotate the plane, see all the angle and so on. And it's like 5 years, 4 or 5 years that we use this virtual reality goggle. So we ship a virtual reality goggle to our customer, and we have this kind of meeting like we are having between me and you. in 3D in a 3D hangar, so we can walk around the plane, and they can change the scheme with the gesture, and they see my avatar inside, and we have this conversation sitting inside the plane or outside. So this is a very personal relationship with the customer. How I design the plane. First of all, respecting, collecting all the input. Of course, you want a Dragon, you want. I call myself a Mirco GPT, because sometimes people like ChatGPT, they ask me crazy stuff and they come out with the solution. So first of all, you have to, of course, integrate the request of the customer. And second, respect the line of the plane. So, for example, if you do a banana line like this, the plane doesn't look good, because basically planes fly a little bit, like a raptor, kind of like flying in the sky, not like this, just to give you a quick example. And then you have to respect also some rules about, for example, we cannot use dark color on the composite plane. Sometimes you are, forced to don't do crazy design on a plane full of panels and rivets because the cost itself will be crazy for the customer to paint the plane and so on. So we have a company restriction. We have also local restriction of the nation itself. Sometimes you cannot paint crazy color or for example, you cannot hide the registration. So sometimes the registration itself is so big that can just interrupt the scheme itself. So all these things all together, and then this is the process, and we have this the 100% happy formula. Basically, we don't stop to design until the customer is 100% happy. And this is also the reason about so big success, because at the end of the day, you love this plane. It will be your plane, and we don't give the same design to somebody else. So if you ask me, hey, I love I don't know, Bulldog Second, I want the same plane. No, I cannot do it because I did it for not for you, but for somebody else. And after the scheme, we started to work on the special effect on the colors, because we don't select only colors, but metallic, solid color, matte color, reflected colors, and so on. So this you can play with a lot of this, let's say, special effects. Not only red and white, but fading and so on. And then at the end, we provide several tools to transfer the scheme on the plane. That could be with the projector, could be with a vector file, if you have something to cut and stick on the plane. But the very cool technology that we developed here in-house is with the virtual reality goggle. So basically, we are able to project on the white model of the plane, let's say, the 3D scheme using not the virtual reality, but mixed reality goggle. So you see your plane, which is white or with a primer, but with this goggle, you see the 3D projection of the scheme basically on the plane. So you can rotate the plane, you can walk around it, you can go underneath, upside down, and
yeah, so you're looking at the real physical plane, but you are superimposing the color scheme on top of it.
And this is super cool, because then you can tape it, you can mask it according to what you see directly, And this is why it's very important for us to work in 3D. And then, well, at the end of the day, given to the company that painted the plane or the model, all the support to double check if everything was correct or no. And before to start to paint, if something is not correct, stop them and help them to adjust the line itself.
Yeah. I remember seeing maybe one or two videos a while ago. There was this channel, Clear Direct, I think it's called, this other YouTube channel, and they were showing they basically recorded some of your interactions with them. They
Yeah,
were building
exactly,
this home build
exactly.
runs, like some kind of like bus
Yes.
plane. And I remember how you were walking them through a couple of different kind of initial different concepts, right? Like different directions based on, like, I remember they were into
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
mountains and a couple other
exactly.
things. And once you started narrowing down, okay, this is the concept that we seem to like the most. Let's now go deep into this and start like getting into the details. Like, should we move this stripe here? Should we what do we do with the color
Perfect.
on the windows,
Yeah.
right? It was really cool to see the process, and yeah, I think you also saw there the kind of the 3D walk around. It's really
We
cool.
do also interiors for jet, and helicopters, so even yacht. So think about it. You can go inside of your plane without to see the plane, and you can change the color of the leather. You can change the material, the wood, the disposition of the seats, the bed, the TV, and so on. Well, now with the video game industry, they developed this such a interesting and unbelievable SDK, that you can just do the interior in in full scale, high resolution with all the occlusion, all the weathering. The material looks real.
Yeah,
So,
once you have the 3D
bravo.
model, it's not difficult to start playing with it in many different
So
ways.
texturing and everything, lights. So the customer, it's projected in a fantasy, in an empty space, but
Yeah.
he see the design, and he can change it, and he can interact with us, even if you are in distance, because the system work on Wi-Fi, and no matter if you are in China, America, Italy,
Yeah.
whatever, up to 30 people. So we can meet different, and this is good when we present a brand new shape, So the people see the plane itself in interior. So what about to move the stick 1 centimeter up, down? Because again, you can see your body through the LiDAR. We can cover the your hand or your legs as a 3D, and having in the background the 3D model itself. So it's kind of like a sci-fi movie. It's kind of like a hologram. It's super cool. So
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I think that's, I have tried a couple of times to do some kind of basic, color schemes for an RC plane. And I think for me, one of the biggest challenges, and I think this is like a common theme for other hobbyists trying to do this. Well, there's a lot of
I
challenges,
have
but
yours here.
oh,
Yeah.
nice. So one of the challenges I found when doing any scheme is, you don't have the, at least most of us don't have the expertise with like 3D modeling, with CAD, with all these things, and something as simple as you have now your 2D model, which is already a battle to get to the point where your top view looks the way you want it to look. But now when you go from there to the 3D, it's pretty complicated, right? And at least, yeah, you have there the FC1A design, the scheme for, and yeah, it was difficult to go from the side view, top view, bottom view to now how does this look in 3D, right? Because planes are, three-dimensional.
uh,
And yeah, I think having that, I mean, of course, for you and your team, having that expertise and those tools and being able to not only see it in a 3D model
Yeah,
in your
especially
screen, but
in the
also,
low wing or medium wing, you have this intersection between the shape of the wing with the fuselage. So if you think in
yep.
2D, a lot of times you see paint scheme that they looks like the side view was designed by another guy compared to the top view, because totally different. So having the 3D kind of like unlock also the fantasy of having the continuity of the line from the wings to the fuselage and so on. So this is quite important. Or you have to use a lot of your imagination. So back on the suggestion, who wanted to design his own paint scheme. First of all, it's find something that color combination or shape that you really like. So if you like, for example, a straight line, for example, here in your sample, you did the straight line here, but you did the curved line on the top. I suggest to stay uh, constant in the style. So if you go straight line, still with the straight line, if you go with some angle, with point or stuff, stay constant in all the view.
Keep things consistent.
Keep it consistent. For sure, this is one of the first, logical theme. If you want to see something with the harmony, and color contrast. It's very important. At which distance you will see the scheme, because sometimes you see, for example, checkerboard, and the people do very thin checkerboard, and they look, one color from the distance, So
yeah, ends up looking like gray
yeah, it's a
white
fuzzy,
and black.
fuzzy shape. So this is another important point. Also, if you do scheme with the two color very close together in terms of the color itself, like light red with on the dark red, I suggest to do a little pinstripe to separate the two color in order to be seen from far away, because sometimes when you are close, fine.
Avoid that blending.
Avoid the blending is important. And another cool touch of the scheme is having some kind of like, name or number or, plain logo, something like that, that plays a big role. Think about a Formula One without sponsor, for example, or without number. It looks naked,
Be pretty plain.
Yeah, same like the plane. And we are very passionate about, Reno iRacer or robotic plane full of this sponsor. It plays a big role also in the scheme. So I suggest to stay simple in the scheme, high contrast color, consistent in the line, and have some cool graphics to break some line here and there that makes the plane look very cool. Another idea, avoid all the curve that goes like this, because it looks like a flying banana. This is something I don't like. So if you see a lot of scheme are like, if you see the scheme with this line, they look wrong, in my opinion. And another cool idea is be inspired. So if you see, for example, a racing car that you like, the color combination, try to use it. Even if they are very creative. Please stop to just transfer the Formula One scheme on the plane. It's don't
Usually doesn't work very well.
I see a lot of this.
Shapes are way too different.
Jesus Christ, it's kind of like, okay, I got it. Okay, you like Ayrton Senna, McLaren or whatever, Williams. But okay, cool, but stop it now. Okay, do something yourself. Yeah, so this is and and of course a big contrast between the bottom and the top, and some very visible color, especially in the RC model when on the leading edge, because sometimes when you approach in the landing and you have not only the sky as a background, but you have trees and mountain, you lose your plane immediately. So be careful about this, because it's also safety. It's a safety stuff, So more or less.
Cool. So you mentioned before, and you said before for a second there, the FC1 I design. If you're up for it, I would love to get your thoughts on it. I'm not gonna be insulted if you criticize it for a bit. I can share my screen here so that people can see it. Give me just a second. And I can also give you a bit of kind of the context on the background.
Yeah, my pen fell down.
Let's see. Can you see my screen there? Cool. So to give you a bit of context, the schemes that were available before I designed mine was this kind of Thunderbird inspired scheme, and I think this is like a different style, right? And the first thing that stood out to me on this plane is the width, like this. this kind of lifting body on the front, and this back, it was pretty wide. So I think that one of the first things that came to mind to me is like, oh, how can we make this feel a bit more streamlined, a bit skinnier? You know, I cannot modify the shape. I can make the color, make the shape look skinnier, right? So that was one of the thinking concepts on this. The second was high contrast between top and bottom. Like in the past, I've flown some jets, and you know the thing with RC jets that they get far away pretty quickly. And in the past, I had problems where a jet looks really really cool, but as soon as you take it into the air, it's actually very difficult to distinguish the top and bottom. And when you are doing crazy aerobatic maneuvers, it can be actually dangerous and scary. Yeah. So that was the second kind of main point here, contrast between top and bottom. And I think maybe the third one in terms of inspiration, a big part of the inspiration about the color scheme was Lewis Hamilton's helmet. I don't know if I can find it, but he tends to use this like...
by the way, now he is in Maranello because now he drives. We live like 3 kilometers far away.
Yeah, so I was kind of looking for like this kind of like design in terms of like just the general color scheme. So this is basically what I came up with. So the idea here was this kind of very skinny lines, kind of make it a bit more kind of streamlined, right? Like make it feel less wide.
Correct. This is correct. What I think you are wasting the three color are just the blue. It's too similar to the dark gray or black. I don't know. And this one from far away looks only one color. So I suggest, for example, here to use a bigger contrast, because if you see the helmet is fading color, you know, and it's not like. You see, it fades from yellow. And by the way, try to avoid these things because it's very difficult to spray on a huge surface and the even transition, you know, a good blending things. So you can do it, but, you know, be aware, be aware this will be a little bit difficult.
It can be tricky to make it look good.
Another thing, I think this plane itself is not true. You cannot change the line. Actually, with the color, you can definitely change a lot of the shape of the plane in terms of the look. Can you show me again the side view in the picture? The picture of the plane? Look at the canopy. This one. The canopy now, it's just interrupted, you know, with the black and the white in this almost vertical line. You know? If you wanted to give more streamlined look, you can just keep
make this a bit longer.
In this particular case, you can just do a line, you know, parallel to the canopy, and you can keep going with a dark color, and the plane will look totally different. For example, so this is just a little detail, you know. So,
Yeah, I agree. And then the bottom, let's see.
Look at back.
I think the bottom was pretty simple.
Back to the top view in the color. Okay, for example, here you have the silver that is the silver of the canopy, right? You could do the instead of the black line behind the canopy in black, but silver, and maybe use a silver instead of the dark blue in one of these line here that you have here in.
Kind of in the middle.
This one, for example, you know, silver here. Well, you will see a constant design all around, and the plane will look totally different in terms of also the shape. My 5 cents is not.
No, that makes sense. And then the bottom was pretty simple. Same idea, trying to make this kind of that kind of pinstripe that you mentioned before to separate the black with the, I guess, purple, and just simple like yellow stripes that make it very high contrast with that top view, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I wanted to show you something very quickly, just to give you an example of, you know, for example, I don't know if you know the Vance RV7. Well, of course, because this is a very popular plane, I
Yeah.
guess. So let me share the screen myself. Uh, okay, here, for example, you can see this one, which kind of like a vintage colors, very, linear with this. Line here and the same aircraft here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
looks
it
totally
looks
different.
totally different. Here we painted also the canopy with a special effect that you can see through. If you are inside, you can still see through, but you can see the two planes together are completely different. Where I am.
Yeah, they look like
Yeah,
different
look,
planes just
they're
based
totally
on the
different
different color
plane.
scheme.
I did a lot of planes here. So here we are. Okay. So where is the other one? Okay, here. You can see these two, for example, are exactly the same plane and they look completely different. So yeah, this the function of the color sometimes it's very important. I show you another example here. For example, exactly the same planes, by the way, the extra NG. And as you can see here,
That one is a really cool color scheme.
yeah, I expect a lot of people try to do it in. But this one, for example, is just very dark anthracite, but with some chrome effect, So under the sunlight, this stripe come out very well. And yeah, this one are the same plane but with a totally different scheme. So yeah, you can change the shape definitely. So yeah, this was just a quick yeah.
Lots of cool schemes there. Lots of cool
Yeah.
models.
And yeah, as I told you, we are also planning to uh, do publication online and on a paper about full scale plane divided in aerobatic, air racing, military, um, private, civil plane, and so on. So it will be a collection of books, and one of with my sketch in 2D, in 3D, in yeah, basically the big book that I did back in the time. I published back in the time in on the website, the one that I shut down after this copy,
Yeah.
and now we decided to make it happen, and yeah, we are waiting for it's a long process because we work. So this is a side
Kind of on the
yeah, a
side.
side
Yeah.
project.
Side
But yeah,
project.
it you will see a lot of this in the near future. So I have so far almost 7,000 aircraft sketch in with the pencil, plus a lot of crazy shapes in 3D. I ca-
Do you wanna share your screen and show a couple of those? You showed me a couple of those before
yes,
the interview.
yes. I show you. Let me open the right folder because I don't want to show you something that I cannot show you yet. And yeah, we have, for example, this one. Okay, I have the folder. Share the screen. Okay, here we have. Let me do this, or we have the infinite wall. For example, here you see Crazy Racer with the different paint scheme, of course. So it's about also study of the color, not only on the shape. Or we have this little study of
Wow.
fantasy aircraft again. and of course with a totally different paint scheme, And this one could be done in RC or full scale, depending on, it's just an inspiration. Or yeah, this one, it's similar to the GB R3, but with more streamline in the front and everything.
Yeah, it's a streamlined ZB.
Yeah, and then we have, for example, this one is a flying pancake idea.
That's interesting. And a twin engine.
And look, I don't know if it will be a starship, or a plane, but who cares. And yeah, and so on. I have also this one that came from one of my sketches. So basically, this is the idea. This one was back in 2003, by hand, and then I did in 2D, and then I did it in 3D. So basically, now you can see, yeah, all this.
Beautiful.
So the book will feature a lot of this crazy. I show you what I did in the last. Okay, this is what I did during the Christmas time. So you see a lot of Bart Rutan inspiration, and sometimes other crazy idea like I don't know this. Let me find. Okay, this one, it's the idea to have a swing wing for a glider. I don't know if it's possible or no, but who cares? When you work with the fantasy, you can design a lot of different shapes. So all this plane will be featured in flying boats and so on. So it will be features in a series of books, and not only the plane that we have done in the full scale in the past, the iconic like the Beast, the Bulldog Second, the Viking, and the Proton, and whatever. But also this sketch will be available for people that they wanted to enjoy, crazy lines and crazy rendering or crazy idea. And of course, it will be a huge opportunity for who wanted to build one of these planes to contact us and having development together, So yeah, this is the next project.
It wouldn't surprise me if a couple of RC models come out of that in the future. That'll be cool.
Yeah, actually, Tony already mentioned about the next project will be with us, like the Matrix. So stay tuned.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to chat with
him.
I'm kind of curious. I'm sure you use a lot of different programs. What are the main one or two pieces of software that you use to go from your manual sketch to a 2D to the actual 3D model?
Yeah, I use a Sketchbook Pro. First of all, I use a pencil and a paper. Yeah, this is sometimes you have it because iPad and everything works well, but sometimes when you have an idea, then you have to maybe the battery is down and everything, you don't have it. So
you want to be able to sketch something quickly.
I have a ton of sketch on my desk and so on. So, but this is so Sketchbook Pro. It was a Autodesk app, and it was because now they changed, but whatever. I use a Corel Draw. I started to use a Corel Draw from the version 1. So now we are at the 20. Well, they switch in naming the software with the year. And then I use Modo, which is a software by The Foundry. Unfortunately, this software is, they announced that they discontinued the developing of this software. But basically, it's a blender. But then we have also Plasticity, which is another software for the 3D modeling, very very innovative and brand new one. And then we use V-Ray and Unity for the rendering. Unity also to do the virtual reality, software and the
Yep.
IT department, they use a lot of the programming department. They use a lot of other tools to create, for example. Oh, by the way, and we use a flying simulator to do super high realistic rendering because basically you can place your plane whatever you want on the planet Earth, change the weather, and show to your
Yeah,
customer.
you already have all that
I mean,
environment
it's
set up for you.
just
Yep.
the trick is how to transfer the plane and the scheme into the flight simulator. But
Yep.
as soon as you learn how to do it, you have a super cool rendering engine ready for you to show everything. And of course, Photoshop,
Very
all
cool.
the Adobe suite for the post processing, and a lot of other particular software that they can, for example, render the stitching when we do the logo, and like another dozen of little things to simulate the clouds and the sky and the terrain, and all this. And sometimes a lot of, you know, piece of one software, piece another software, put together. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So CorelDRAW is similar to Adobe Illustrator or Affinity Designer, which is
Yeah, kind of a vector
vector
based.
base is super important. And also we develop a pipeline where we transfer this vector file in a 3D and projected into the model. So we can basically modify real time and it will follow all the shape. This is a very innovative and nobody
Wow.
did it before.
That sounds pretty
Yeah,
powerful.
absolutely. So this is another important part of our process.
The fact that you've been kind of on this industry for such a long time now and kind of at the tip of the spear, I'm sure you've seen kind of different trends or like kind of different developments both on the RC industry and the full scale. Like, is there any particular like trends you've like observed or like where do you see things kind of moving forward in terms of aviation design, both on the like what type of planes we're gonna be seeing and also the type of schemes that seem to be like more in favor these days.
Yeah, I'm super happy that when I see somebody use our inspired by us because you see a lot of element in the. I see I influence the industry a lot, because and which is great, by the way. I love it, and so sometimes the trend, as I told you before, uh, we work a lot with the uh, personally with the customer, so we don't care about the trend a lot because the plane will have your own design. But when we do the scheme for extra, for example, what we are inspired, it's kind of like trying to find a new shapes, a new theme. So sometimes we follow the line of the plane, sometimes we develop something that they cut the line in a very strong way, because the worst thing that you can do is try to follow the line but not in the correct way, so I prefer to do cut the plane in two colors, or big checkerboard or whatever, instead of doing following the wrong progression of the line. So in the trend, sometimes I don't like, for example, when you have this trend following, for example, video games, because sometimes they work very well in a video game, but not in the reality, because in the video game, basically, you are connected with the same view, all the time. But when you fly RC or full scale, the plane goes away and come close to you. So this is something I found very, something that I really don't like. But in general, another trend in the full scale, of course, now we have a lot of this, as I told you before, this flying drone and air taxi, flying taxi, multi-copter thing. And sometimes you see there is something wrong in the proportion of the line, something, because you put people in this cockpit and then you put some engine here and try to make it. But there is a good way to harmonize everything, and thanks God, no, so many people know how to do it, so they hired us to do some trend stuff. And what I really love is harmony and the streamline. I love the streamline. I love the harmonic lines, and organic line. The the human beings and the animal and the nature itself. It's are designed in a very, very good way. All this smooth transition and so on. So yeah, the trend is just. I don't see particular trend. I sometimes I see somebody that they try to break the trend, but it doesn't mean they do something nice. Look at for example, okay, if you wanted to do something different, like I don't know if you saw the latest Jaguar design, with this color. It's kind of like, but back in the time, it was quite common to say, okay, this is a very smooth line and just look like the Ferrari Testarossa. They just cut the car with a scissor. It's like and it become iconic. If it become iconic, you are lucky. If not, it's just rubbish. So it's very difficult to explore, to break the rules and stay and stay on the top and become iconic. Of course, you have to do it sometime. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So we try to explore this with customers time after time. So I don't know if I answered to your question.
Yeah. Any particular places you like to kind of look for inspiration? I think you mentioned, cars. You mentioned, like just nature,
Yeah.
human body. Like there's a lot of like things out there in nature that have like proportions. When you're looking at things like, let me figure out this new color scheme. I think you've done so many that I assume that in some ways like even harder because you're trying to find something different from the other 200 things you've done, right? Like it must be like did you ever run out of ideas, or how do you approach
I'm
that?
lucky because I have much, much more ideas than the plane I've done. So when I study one scheme, I stay for my personal pleasure sometime awake in the night to try different things, and it's kind of to be two person. One person design and the other one enjoy what the first guy designed. So it's kind of like a very strange. Maybe I'm sick with bipolar things. I don't know, but it's like you are exploring Pinterest yourself, But meanwhile, you are doing things on Pinterest, And of course, I'm big fan of the huge contrast. Big color, big numbers, checkerboard, racing stuff. But I also like, retro, like, Rocketeer era, a racing era, and the sci-fi from Star Trek, Star Wars, all the things that, we love, superhero, Marvel, and Pixar, all this they are super good in they are very talented artists. So sometimes when somebody asks me, hey, can you do, I don't know, Batman scheme on the plane? First of all, we don't do the exact copy because we don't want to infringe any copyright. So try to be inspired about the color, about the color combination, the shape, and so on. So yeah, this is and I'm very I love arts. So if I do something for China or for Arabs or for European or United States, if you see a local trend, stars and stripes, Coca-Cola can, big color, a lot of, let's just say there are a lot of brand, in, McDonald's, high contrast color and so on. And in the Arab country, you see all this very curved line with maybe gold and purple. So in Europe, you see. By the way, Italy is a very important place because we were influenced by a lot of different cultures all around the world. Being in the middle of the Mediterranean, we had a lot of different cultures. So kind of like easy to find a different a theme, a different way to approach, So you see the very minimal one, like the Scandinavian design, or super crazy dragon like Chinese, with a lot of colors and so on. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the graphic design and the design itself and the arts. So I often apply this to one version, another one, But my favorite is, of course, racing stuff. I love racing stuff. Actually, I live in Maranello now, so it's Ferrari town. So it's
You're right there.
easy to be influenced.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you, at this point, do you still have any kind of dream projects or collaborations you would like to get to someday?
Yeah, absolutely. We are even if it's such a long time that we work on these things. I'm now I'm investing my time to enter in other business as well in terms of furniture design, in terms of cool object. We design, as I told you before, a stereo system made with airplane and Formula One exhaust. We design the boats. We design other cool objects. And now we have so many ideas that it's time for us also to invade the other industry, bringing the plane in. So you might see a kitchen design as a plane, something like that. So not in the. I'm not involved so much in dress design, apparel design, just for flying suit, helmet, yes, for sure. But I'm not involved in any shoes or eyewear design. But who knows, because as a designer, you can do basically whatever you want, in general. I'm doing a car for the United States customer. We will see if this will become reality or no. I was curious to see how I can design a car, and it looks like a plane, with wheels, very smooth, with the kind of fuselage instead of the body. And so project. By the way, I will die meanwhile I design, because for me it's my passion, it's my life. So I don't see other way to spend my time. Of course, I love music, I love video games, I love to be with friends, I love to fly, a lot of things. But still, design cool stuff, design new stuff. It's my life. So yeah, all the projects.
Yeah, no, you can tell looking at
absolutely.
the signs. I was looking just now on the side here, the one of the audio systems that you design with the kind of the car exhaust. It's like really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, this is it.
Cool. Well, I think one last question is: do you have any kind of final words of advice for somebody that is interested in this type of work, whether it's like somebody young trying to get into design, get into this type of industry, or just people that on the side want to try their hand and designing something, whether it's like designing some little airplane or design a scheme for the future plane? Like, how do you have any words of advice there?
Don't be afraid of the new technology. Okay. Now is I follow a lot of podcasts, people are afraid about the AI. AI will destroy or no.
Replace us all.
No. Don't be afraid. Try, dive into the new technology. Try to do the stuff, and and have fun. And if you are talented in doing something that you enjoy to do it, just do it and try to contact a company and that they can, or start a company, a company to produce yourself. Because I saw a lot of people just try to, make a little model, make a paper plane or whatever, an app about flying simulator or whatever, it's possible. You can do it, Just don't be afraid. Dive into it, and don't be afraid to use new technology. Learn, because look, now we are so lucky, but because we can have in our pocket all the thinking that ever published in this world, and we have the IE ready to condense everything and give us the answer. This is a superhuman power. Why don't use it even in the design? Then you have to create your own style. You have to be able to reproduce what the AI create for you. You have to interpret this, and not only because. And I see all of this as a tool, not as a competitor. Let's put it this way. So this is my suggestion. If you have this passion, just do it. Because you know what? If nobody will buy your stuff, at least you had fun to do it. In doing this. So why don't do it? So I really, and if you need a help, joke apart, if somebody wanted to contact us and to have a new design and stuff like that, we are more than happy. This is my job, so of course this is a little bit of advertising, but we are more than happy to start a new collaboration with the new company, or even if you want your own design for your model or your plane. Of course, listen, we have a different price from small plane to BBJ, Boeing business jet, or private plane for interiors, exterior. We follow a huge project as well. So the budget is totally different, of course. Sometimes with the money that they spend to customize the jet, you can buy a fleet of a small plane, So this is the reality of the things. But yeah, this is the suggestion. Do it, and if you need a help, you know how to contact us.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Mirko, for taking the time. I really appreciate it, and this was a lot of fun. Really excited to see what new stuff comes out of your team's minds and hands. Yeah.
Thanks for having me, and well, see you guys next time, and good luck for your channel, because I am one of your followers. I love your video and the content, and I really would love to learn how to fly, all this crazy maneuver. But I think it will still a dream. So very good.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Mirko. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.